The deeper Elias and his team moved into the alien structure, the stranger their surroundings became. The walls were smooth, almost liquid in appearance, and pulsed faintly with light. Symbols shifted as they walked, forming patterns that seemed to respond to their presence. It was unlike anything Elias had ever studied. Every step felt as if the structure itself was alive, watching and guiding them. "Doctor," Mara whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "This place, it's not just a building, it feels intelligent." Elias nodded, keeping his eyes on the glowing path ahead. "Yes, it's more than architecture. It's alive in some way, and I think it's aware of us." As they moved through a corridor that curved impossibly, bending in ways that should have been physically impossible, Elias heard the Queen's voice again, echoing in his mind. "Why do you endure, human? Why do you survive where others fail?" He paused and looked around, but there was no one in sight. Only the glowing walls and the faint silhouettes of the other alien figures standing silently at the edges of the corridor. "We endure because we must," Elias answered, his voice quiet but firm, as if speaking more to himself than to anyone else. "Humans survive because we adapt, because we care for each other, because we dream, even when everything is against us. We keep moving forward." The Queen's response came soft and almost curious. "And yet, your species is fragile. You are weak in numbers, limited in lifespan, and dependent on fragile worlds. How do you explain your persistence?" Elias felt a chill run through him. Her question was sharp, piercing through every memory he had of humanity's struggles. He thought of Earth, the wars, the disasters, the times when humanity seemed on the brink of extinction. And yet humans had survived. They had built cities from ruins, healed diseases once thought incurable, and traveled to the stars. "Because we fight," Elias said slowly, "not just for ourselves, but for each other, and for something greater than ourselves. Hope, curiosity, the desire to live, to learn, to grow. That is why we persist." The Queen's light pulsed softly, as if considering his words. Then a new sensation came, an image, not a sound, forming in his mind. He saw glimpses of humanity. A child on a playground, a scientist working late into the night, farmers tending fields, firefighters running into burning buildings. He saw courage, kindness, and ingenuity. "And you call these traits survival?" the Queen asked. Her tone carried no judgment, only deep interest. "Yes," Elias replied, "because survival is more than just living. It's how we live. What we choose to do in the face of danger, in the face of impossible odds, defines us." The corridor opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling arched high above, glowing with shifting colors. Floating platforms moved gracefully through the space, connecting one end to another as if obeying some unseen current. The alien figures stood at the edges, silent, watching. In the center, the Queen appeared, more radiant than before. Her presence seemed to fill the chamber, bending light and energy around her. "Step forward, human," she said, her voice resonating in Elias's mind. "I wish to understand you more deeply." Elias's team hesitated, but Mara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Go on, Elias, this is your path," she said quietly. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. As he did, the platforms beneath him shifted, carrying him slowly toward the Queen. The air around him vibrated with energy, and suddenly he felt himself connected to everything in the chamber, the walls, the light, the alien figures. It was as if he could sense the structure's thoughts, its history and its awareness. "Tell me, human," the Queen said, her voice like silk in his mind. "When faced with danger, how do you decide who lives and who dies?" Elias's stomach tightened. This was not a simple question. It was moral, ethical, and deeply personal. He thought of his team, of Earth, of humanity's history filled with war and cooperation. He realized the Queen was testing not just his intelligence, but the essence of what made humans unique. "We choose based on more than logic," Elias said slowly. "We consider others. We think about the consequences, about fairness, about love and loyalty. Sometimes it is instinct, sometimes it is reasoning, but always it is guided by something greater than just survival." "Curious," the Queen murmured. "Your species values emotion, connection, and choice. Many fail because they are predictable. You are unpredictable. You endure because you are not only clever, but flawed, emotional, willing to risk everything for what you hold dear." Elias felt a shiver. Being called flawed could have sounded like an insult, but in this context it was praise. It meant humans had a strength that even the Queen could not fully quantify, a strength born of freedom, creativity, and the ability to care deeply. The chamber shifted again, revealing new scenes, visions of distant planets, dying stars and civilizations rising and falling. The Queen's mind reached out, showing Elias what she had witnessed. Countless species had failed, consumed by their own hubris, fear, or inability to adapt. Only a few had survived long enough to leave a mark on the galaxy. Humans, she seemed to imply, were one of the rare species that combined persistence with creativity, compassion with courage. Elias felt overwhelmed. He had traveled to the stars searching for life, expecting to study, analyze, and report. He had not expected to be judged, understood, or questioned on the very nature of humanity. And yet, the Queen whispered, "You are alone, or so you believe. Do you not fear that your persistence is meaningless? That your species is insignificant in the vastness of the cosmos?" Elias swallowed hard. He had considered that question countless times in his life. Humanity was small, fragile, and often careless. The universe was enormous, full of dangers and mysteries far beyond their comprehension. And yet humans had survived. They had overcome famine, disease, war, and countless disasters. They had built civilizations, explored the stars, and dreamed of what was beyond. "No," Elias said finally with quiet conviction. "We are not insignificant. Every life matters, every choice matters. Even if we are small, even if we seem alone, we leave a mark. We adapt, we learn, we grow. That is why we endure." The Queen's glow intensified. The energy in the chamber swirled around Elias, and he felt as if he was being lifted into the air, suspended between light and thought. The other figures moved closer, their forms brightening in unison, creating a mesmerizing display of color and motion. "You speak with courage, human," the Queen said, "but words alone cannot prove your truth. You must show it. You must demonstrate that the human spirit is more than survival, more than calculation, more than instinct." Elias's heart pounded. This was a test not of knowledge but of humanity itself. He felt the weight of his species on his shoulders, the responsibility to show that humans were not just another fragile life form, but a unique and enduring presence in the galaxy. What must I do?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his chest. The Queen extended a hand, or what Elias perceived as a hand. A shimmering sphere of light appeared above it, spinning slowly, projecting visions of strange worlds, impossible challenges, and life forms beyond imagination. "Your trials begin here," the Queen said. "Face what is unknown. Choose with courage. Show me what it means to be human." Elias nodded, determination building inside him. I will do it. For humanity. For Earth. For everyone who dreams of reaching the stars." The Queen's light pulsed in acknowledgement. The chamber around them shifted, forming a new path. Platforms rose and fell, bridges appeared and vanished, and strange alien creatures moved in patterns that seemed to test every sense, every instinct, every choice. Elias stepped forward, feeling both fear and exhilaration. As he advanced, he realized something profound. The Queen was not just testing him as an individual. She was testing humanity itself. She wanted to know if the species that had survived so much could continue to endure, to adapt, to rise above challenges that no other life form could face. And in that moment, Elias understood the weight of her question. "Are you really alone, human?" He was not sure of the answer yet, but he knew one thing for certain. Humanity was about to show the universe what it truly meant to survive and to thrive. Outside the structure, the violet sky stretched endlessly. The alien figures watched silently, and the planet waited, holding its secrets in the depths beneath the surface. Inside, Elias's journey was only beginning, a journey that would test courage, morality, and the very essence of what it meant to be human. The chamber shifted again as Elias moved forward, his every step guided by an invisible current of light. The platforms beneath him floated smoothly, forming paths that seemed to stretch and twist impossibly through space. The alien figures remained, silent, watching from the edges while the Queen's presence filled the air like a living force. Her voice, soft but commanding, echoed in Elias's mind. "You have spoken of courage and hope, human. Now you must demonstrate them. Your first trial awaits." Elias glanced down at the sphere of light the Queen had created. Inside it, Visions swirled. Scenes of strange alien worlds, impossible landscapes, and creatures moving with fluid grace. He realized that this sphere was not just a projection, it was a doorway, a test he had to enter. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. The moment his feet touched the sphere's surface, the world around him changed. The chamber vanished, replaced by a vast alien forest. Towering trees with luminous leaves stretched toward a sky of shifting colors. Strange creatures moved between the trunks, some curious, some cautious, others dangerous in appearance. The air was filled with sounds Elias had never heard before, harmonies of clicks, hums, and whispers. He understood immediately. This was a test. The Queen wanted to see how a human would act when faced with the unknown, with danger, and with choices that mattered. A low growl echoed nearby. Elias turned to see a large predator-like creature, its eyes glowing, moving with silent precision. It was not immediately attacking, but its presence radiated threat. Elias's instincts told him to run, but something inside urged him to remain calm, to observe, to think. He remembered the words he had spoken to the Queen. Humans endure because they consider more than survival. He reached into his pack and slowly pulled out a small flare, not to harm the creature but to illuminate the area and show that he meant no aggression. The creature paused, studying him, then slowly backed away, melting into the forest shadows. A small surge of relief washed over Elias, but the trial was far from over. Ahead, a bridge formed over a glowing river. The water shimmered with strange energy, and across it he could see a figure, a human child, seemingly trapped on the edge of a cliff. The child called for help, eyes wide with fear. Elias's heart clenched. He wanted to rush forward, but the river below was alive with glowing, fast-moving creatures that could easily sweep him away. He realized the test was not just about courage, it was about judgment. "Think, Elias," he whispered to himself. "This is not just about saving one. It's about understanding what humans truly value." He scanned the surroundings, looking for a way to save the child without risking unnecessary danger. Spotting. A fallen tree partially spanning the river. He tested its stability. With careful steps he managed to cross, keeping balance as the glowing river surged below. Every moment counted. Every choice mattered. Finally reaching the child, Elias extended his hand. "Take my hand," he said calmly. The child hesitated for a heartbeat, then grabbed it. Together, they navigated back across the makeshift bridge. The river creatures shifted, watching silently, but made no move to attack. When Elias set the child safely on solid ground, the vision shifted again. He was now on a barren, rocky planet. The sky was dark, filled with swirling storms of red and black energy. In the distance, a village of small beings, frail, weak, and defenseless, was under attack by a larger, aggressive species. The villagers screamed for help, their homes threatened. Elias felt a pang of fear. There was no way he could save everyone alone. The Queen's voice whispered in his mind, "Will you protect others at the risk of your own life? Or will logic guide you to self-preservation?" Elias knew the answer immediately. Humanity's strength was not in numbers, not in brute force. It was in sacrifice, in choice, in the willingness to act for others even when the odds were impossible. He quickly assessed the environment, using rocks and debris to create barriers, drawing attention away from the villagers. Using knowledge of physics and balance, he triggered small avalanches to block the attackers' paths, buying time for the villagers to escape. He risked himself repeatedly, but always with thought and care. He guided the weakest beings to safety, instructed others to help carry supplies, and even when struck by minor debris, he refused to give up. The vision lasted for what felt like hours, testing his courage, his strategy, and his empathy. Finally, the attackers retreated, and the villagers were safe. The rocky landscape faded, replaced by a vast desert. Elias now faced a puzzle, a series of platforms floating in midair, moving in patterns that defied logic. He had to cross them to reach a glowing artifact on the other side. Missteps could mean falling into an endless void. At first, Elias hesitated. Each jump required precision, timing, and faith in the moving platforms. He closed his eyes for a moment, drawing on his training, instincts, and trust in himself. One step at a time, he moved forward. His balance wavered and he stumbled more than once, but he adjusted, kept breathing, and focused. Halfway across, the platforms shifted unexpectedly. Elias felt panic rising, but he reminded himself, human. Resilience was not just in strength, it was in focus, adaptation, and learning from mistakes. With careful adjustments, he made it to the artifact. As he touched it, a surge of energy flowed through him, filling him with clarity and understanding. The visions disappeared, and Elias found himself back in the chamber. The Queen stood before him, radiating light and calm authority. The alien figures moved closer, forming a circle around him. Elias felt exhausted but alive, aware that he had faced a test that was more than physical. It had measured his mind, heart, and spirit. "You see, human," the Queen said, her voice echoing like a song in his mind. "Your species survives not because of strength alone, but because of choice, courage, and compassion. You endure because you are unpredictable, capable of empathy, and willing to act when others would hesitate." Elias wiped sweat from his brow. I did what I could," he admitted. "I tried to think, to care, to do what was right." The Queen's glow brightened. "And that is why you continue. That is why humans are unique. Few species would survive what you have just faced. Few would act with both intelligence and heart." He looked around at the alien figures, sensing approval, curiosity, and deep respect. For a moment he felt connected, not just to the structure, not just to the Queen, but to the very essence of life in the universe. He realized that survival was not just about resisting danger, it was about understanding it, acting wisely, and valuing others along the way. "Your trials are only beginning," the Queen said softly, "but you have shown the first truth. Humanity is not merely alive. It is remarkable, resilient, and capable of greatness." Elias felt both pride and humility. Pride for what humans could achieve, and humility for the vastness of the universe that still held so many mysteries. The Queen's question lingered in his mind. "Are you really alone, human?" He realized that he was not alone, not in spirit, not in potential. Humanity carried within it a light that could shine even in the darkest corners of the cosmos. And now he would face more trials, each designed to test different aspects of that light: morality, creativity, courage, and ingenuity. The chamber shifted again, creating a new path. Elias knew the next trial would challenge him in ways he could not yet imagine. Yet he felt ready. For the first time he understood that the Queen's interest was not only in him, it was in all of humanity. She wanted to see if they were worthy of a place among the stars, a place that few species ever achieved. Outside the chamber, the violet sky remained still. The alien figures waited silently, their glowing forms calm but alert. Inside, Elias's journey continued, and he walked forward with a steady heart, determined to prove the worth of humanity, not just to the Queen, but to himself. As he stepped onto the next platform, ready for whatever lay ahead, the Queen's voice resonated once more. "Remember, human, every choice matters. Your spirit defines you. Show me the true strength of your species." Elias took a deep breath. He did not know what awaited him, but he knew this. Humanity's journey was far from over, and he would carry the light of their spirit into the trials to come. Elias stepped onto the final platform, the chamber around him glowing brighter than ever. The Queen's presence was overwhelming yet comforting, like standing near a star that both warmed and tested him. He had faced trials of courage, morality, and ingenuity, and each had pushed him to his limits. But he knew this last trial would not be a test of skill alone. It would be a test of understanding of what it truly meant to be human. The chamber transformed. Suddenly he was no longer standing on solid ground. He floated in a vast, dark expanse filled with countless stars, galaxies, and nebulae swirling around him. Each light seemed alive, pulsing as though the universe itself were breathing. He felt small, almost insignificant, yet at the same time he felt the weight and power of every choice humanity had ever made. "Do you see, human?" The Queen's voice echoed in his mind. "These are the civilizations of the cosmos. Many have risen and many have fallen. Some thrived, some perished, but few, very few, possess the essence that your species carries." Elias's heart pounded. The vision showed him countless alien species, some with advanced technology, some with immense power, yet most had vanished, destroyed by their own arrogance, fear, or inability to adapt. Then his gaze fell on a small cluster of planets where life was struggling, fragile but persistent, and there, in a brilliant blue and green sphere, he saw Earth. "Your species is rare," the Queen continued. "You endure because you are adaptable, inventive, and capable of empathy. You face danger not only with strength but with morality. You survive not only through logic but through connection. This is why you exist in a universe that often does not forgive weakness." Elias felt a mixture of pride and humility. Humans were flawed, yes, too emotional at times, too unpredictable, sometimes reckless. Yet those flaws combined with courage and creativity had made them survivors. They had built civilizations from nothing, healed the sick, created art, explored the stars, and never stopped dreaming. The Queen's voice softened, almost gentle, and yet human. "Do you truly understand your place? Are you ready to know why I asked, are you really alone?" Elias felt a sudden pull as if the chamber itself were guiding him closer. Images formed in his mind. Visions of alien species watching humanity from afar, observing, recording, learning. He saw civilizations across the galaxy taking note of humans, their struggles, their successes, their choices. Some had tried to contact them, others had remained distant, curious, or cautious. He realized then that humans were not alone, not in influence, not in impact. Even in isolation, their presence resonated across the universe. "You are not alone," the Queen whispered, her voice like wind through stars. "Your species carries a light that few others possess. Even when planets fall, when stars die, even when civilizations vanish, your essence persists. You are rare, human, and that rarity is both your strength and your responsibility." Elias felt tears prick his eyes. The weight of her words sank into him. He had always thought survival was about numbers, about technology, about power. But the Queen showed him it was more than that. Survival was about spirit, heart, choice, and the willingness to face the unknown with courage. The stars around him shifted again, revealing a vision of his team on the planet's surface. Mara, the others, they were safe, waiting, trusting him. Elias realized that the trials were not just about him. They were about humanity as a whole. Every decision, every action he had taken in the test reflected the collective spirit of the human race. "You have demonstrated what few can," the Queen said. "You are a mirror of your species, human. You endure because you are compassionate, intelligent, and brave. You endure because you care, and now you carry the knowledge that humans are never truly alone. Your choices ripple across the cosmos." The chamber dissolved slowly, leaving Elias standing on solid ground once more. The alien figures surrounded him, their glow calm and respectful. The Queen hovered before him, her light radiant but serene. "You have completed your trials," she said, "and now you understand what it means to be human. Few species reach this level of awareness. Few have the combination of spirit, courage, and empathy necessary to endure the galaxy's challenges. Humans, you are extraordinary." Elias felt overwhelmed but also invigorated. I don't know what to say," he admitted. "I always thought humanity was ordinary, just another species struggling to survive, but you've shown me we are more than that." The Queen's glow pulsed softly like a heartbeat. "You are not ordinary. You are remarkable, and your species has a choice. To remain hidden in the stars or to rise, to share your light, to leave a mark that few can match. The universe will watch, human. Will you act with courage and purpose?" Elias straightened his shoulders. "We will. Humanity will rise. We will learn, explore, and grow. We will not be content with survival alone. We will strive to leave a legacy, to reach beyond ourselves, to make the universe better wherever we go." The Queen's light intensified in a wave of energy that washed over him. It was not dangerous, it was enlightening, filling him with understanding, clarity, and a sense of purpose. He felt a connection to Earth, to humanity, to the countless generations who had struggled, dreamed, and persevered. He felt the pulse of life not just on his home planet but across the galaxy. "Then you understand," the Queen said. "Your species is never alone as long as your spirit endures. Others watch, learn, and sometimes follow. You influence even without realizing it. The question I asked was not about numbers, it was about essence. And now you know. Humanity's essence is unique, unyielding, and unforgettable." Elias exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the revelation. He looked around at the alien figures, at the chamber, at the light of the Queen, and realized that everything he had seen and experienced was a gift, a challenge, a lesson, and a responsibility. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I will carry this knowledge back to humanity. We will honor it. We will grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. And we will remember. We are never truly alone." The Queen's glow softened almost like a smile. "Go, human. Share what you have learned. Protect your species. Teach others. And always remember, the universe is vast, but your spirit carries a light that no darkness can extinguish." The chamber dissolved completely, leaving Elias back on the surface of the planet. The alien figures were gone, leaving only the glowing ruins of the structure behind. The violet sky stretched endlessly above him, calm and serene. He turned to see his team, their faces filled with awe, wonder, and relief. Mara ran to him, her eyes wide. "Elias, what happened in there? What did you see?" Elias smiled, feeling the strength of humanity within him. "I saw what we are capable of. I saw why we survive. And I saw that we are never truly alone. No matter how far we travel, no matter how impossible the odds, humanity carries a light that shines across the universe." The team stood together, looking at the horizon, feeling a sense of purpose they had never known before. They had come seeking discovery, adventure, and knowledge, but what they had gained was far greater. They carried the understanding that humans were extraordinary, that their spirit mattered, and that their future held endless possibilities. Elias turned back to the ruins, feeling the faint pulse of energy still lingering there. The Queen's question echoed in his mind one last time. "Are you really alone, human?" He smiled and whispered, "No, never again." With renewed determination, Elias led his team back to the Odyssey. They had seen wonders beyond imagination, faced trials that tested the heart, mind, and spirit, and returned with knowledge that would change humanity forever. The stars above twinkled, infinite and endless, but now Elias looked at them with understanding and confidence. Humanity was small, yes, fragile, yes, but never alone. Their courage, creativity, and compassion would ripple across the cosmos, leaving a mark that no darkness could erase. As the Odyssey lifted off the planet, Elias gazed out at the expanse of space, thinking of Earth, of the humans waiting, dreaming, and reaching for the stars. He knew that humanity's journey was only beginning. The trials, the challenges, and the wonders of the universe lay ahead. And with the knowledge the Queen had shared, he felt ready. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, dangers, and beauty. But humanity had been tested, seen, and understood. They were rare, remarkable, and resilient. And for the first time, Elias truly believed that humans were capable of anything, even leaving their light among the stars for generations to come. And somewhere, beyond the reaches of known space, the alien Queen watched silently, her curiosity and hope for humanity unwavering. Elias whispered once more, his voice full of resolve, "We are not alone, and we never will be." Eli Vance stood at the edge of the strange, glowing forest, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, luminescent soil. The planet, designated Zithera 9 by the exploration team, was nothing like he had imagined. From the ship's orbit, it had looked calm, almost peaceful. But standing here among the towering crystal-like trees that reflected the faint light of the distant sun, Eli realized this world had secrets of its own. He adjusted his helmet visor, scanning the environment for movement. The air was thin but breathable, a rare blessing for a human in an alien atmosphere. His handheld scanner beeped softly, indicating low readings of life energy. But something about this place felt alive in ways technology could not detect. Eli sighed, gripping his tool tightly, and took another cautious step forward. Every sound seemed amplified. The soft whisper of wind across the crystalline leaves, the distant trickle of a glowing stream, and his own heartbeat. Exploration was supposed to be thrilling, but at times like this, Eli felt the weight of solitude. He had been chosen for this mission not only for his skills, but for his resilience in isolation. Years spent on research stations, months aboard shuttle missions, and the long, lonely hours of training had prepared him for solitude. And yet nothing prepared him for the strange sense of being watched, though every scan showed nothing. "Just your imagination," he muttered, forcing a small smile. He moved deeper into the forest, each step causing tiny shards of light to scatter across the ground like a miniature constellation. The crystalline trees seemed to hum softly, a sound almost like a distant whisper. Eli shivered, though not from cold. It was the sense that something intelligent was nearby, something that did not belong to any species he had ever known. As he approached a clearing, the soft light shifted, revealing a figure. At first, he thought it was a trick of the crystal reflections, a mirage formed by the unusual atmosphere. But then she stepped forward. She was humanoid, but not human. Her skin seemed to glow faintly like the planet itself, and her eyes held a depth that Eli found unsettling. She did not speak at first. She simply observed him with an intensity that made him feel exposed, as if she could see past the suit, past the helmet, and straight into his mind. Eli froze. He had expected strange plants, maybe alien animals, but not this, another sentient being. "Hello," he said cautiously, his voice crackling slightly over the suit's communication system. She tilted her head slightly, curious but calm. And then she spoke. Not in words he recognized, but in a voice that echoed softly in his mind. "Are you alone, human?" Eli's breath caught. He blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. The question was simple, almost childlike, but the weight behind it was profound. It was not just a question of physical solitude, it was as if she wanted to understand the very essence of his being. I am," he replied, though his voice sounded small and unsure even to him. He felt a sudden, strange vulnerability. He had been trained for contact, for first encounters with alien life, but nothing in his training could prepare him for this. The figure stepped closer. Eli noticed subtle details, the way her movements seemed fluid, almost liquid, and the faint shimmer that surrounded her like a soft aura. She studied him with patience, as if measuring his thoughts, his emotions, his very soul. "Alone," she repeated softly, almost as if tasting the word. "But you carry much within." Eli blinked again, his mind racing. He had always believed that humans were special for their curiosity and intelligence, for their ability to adapt. Yet here was something alien recognizing that same uniqueness. Not the muscles, not the tools, but the heart and mind. He wanted to speak, to explain, but no words felt sufficient. I don't know what you mean," he admitted, his voice steadier this time. "I've been trained for contact. I've read reports, He paused, searching for the right explanation. "I've been alone in space before, yes, but this is different." The figure tilted her head, a gesture that felt almost human. She raised a hand slowly, and small lights danced along her fingers. Eli watched, mesmerized, as the lights floated between them, pulsing gently. He realized it was a form of communication, a language beyond sound. She was not hostile. In fact, there was a gentle curiosity in her every gesture, a desire to understand. Eli lowered his scanner. It felt inadequate here, unnecessary. Nothing in his instruments could measure what was happening between them. It was a connection, unspoken yet undeniable, like two minds brushing against each other across the void. What are you?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. She did not answer directly. Instead, she extended her hand toward him, palm open, inviting. A soft warmth spread through the suit's gloves when he tentatively placed his own hand against hers. A jolt of sensation passed between them, not painful, not shocking, but profound, a recognition. She seemed to understand him, his fears, his doubts, his hopes, even those he had buried deep. Eli stepped back slightly, overwhelmed. He had read about empathy in human terms, but this was something different, something more intense. He realized that she was testing him, not with words, not with physical threats, but with understanding. She wanted to know what it meant to be human in the vast loneliness of the universe. "I've never met anyone like you," he admitted, his voice soft. "Not human, not anything." She tilted her head again, a faint light flickering across her skin. Her presence was calming, yet it stirred 1,000 thoughts in Eli's mind. "Not alone," she said finally, her voice echoing in his mind once more. "Never truly alone, human. You carry more than you see." The words resonated within him. Eli realized that the question she had asked, the first word she spoke to him, was not just about physical presence. It was about connection, purpose, and the strength that humans carried even when isolated. He felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. This being, whoever she was, had the power to see into the core of his being, and yet she offered understanding instead of judgment. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Time seemed to lose meaning in the glowing forest. Eli found himself speaking, slowly at first, about his journey, about the earth he had left behind, about the loneliness and wonder of exploring the stars. He spoke without fear of judgment, and she listened, her lights pulsing softly in rhythm with his voice as if acknowledging every thought. Finally, she withdrew her hand, stepping back slightly. Eli felt a sudden emptiness in her absence, as if a warmth had been taken away from the clearing, and yet he also felt something new, a sense of possibility. Humanity was fragile, yes, but here was proof that it could reach beyond isolation. That connection, even across species, was possible. She spoke once more, words simple yet profound. "You are not alone." "Not now, not ever. And you will see more, human, if you are ready." Eli nodded, unsure if he understood fully, but willing to try. He had come seeking life, exploration, knowledge, and instead, he had found understanding. And perhaps in this strange and beautiful world, he had found a glimpse of what it meant to be truly human. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if she would guide him, test him, or disappear like a vision. But for the first time in a long while, Eli felt hope. Hope that humanity, fragile and small in the vastness of the cosmos, could still touch something extraordinary. As he watched her retreat into the crystalline forest, his heart pounded with a mixture of fear, excitement, and wonder. The stars above seemed closer, and yet the universe had grown infinitely larger in his mind. He whispered softly to himself, though she could not hear it, "You're not alone, and neither am I." The forest shimmered around him, alive with light and sound, as if the planet itself acknowledged the moment. Eli took a deep breath, adjusted his visor, and stepped forward, toward discovery, toward understanding, and toward the unknown that waited just beyond the crystal trees. Eli Vance could hardly believe what had happened. The alien being, Lyra, as he had come to think of her, had vanished into the crystal forest, leaving him standing alone under the faint glow of Zithra 9's twin suns. The forest shimmered as if nothing had changed, yet Eli knew that something fundamental had shifted within him. He had come seeking signs of life, but what he had found was not just life. It was understanding, a silent recognition of what it meant to be human in a vast and lonely universe. He lowered his helmet visor, letting the cool air brush his face. The forest was quiet now, yet it hummed softly like the echo of a distant voice. Eli's heart raced, and he realized that for the first time in months, maybe even years, he did not feel truly alone. Ilara's presence had left an impression on him, not of fear, but of connection, something beyond language or science. Was she real? Eli whispered to himself. His hand brushed against the scanner still hanging at his side. Every instrument he carried now felt insufficient. How could any machine measure what had just passed between them? How could any words capture the depth of understanding he felt from her simple question? "Are you alone, human?" Eli continued deeper into the clearing, his boots making soft crunching sounds on the luminescent soil. He scanned the area again, though he knew it would not help. He had learned that some things could not be measured, some connections could not be quantified. He could only rely on observation, intuition, and the strange sense of resonance that had settled in his chest. As he walked, he noticed subtle changes in the environment. The crystals in the trees refracted light differently, forming patterns that seemed almost deliberate, like messages or symbols. Eli crouched, tracing the patterns with his gloved hand. They glimmered softly, and he felt a curious warmth as if the forest itself acknowledged his presence. Perhaps it did. Perhaps this entire world was alive in ways humans had never imagined. Suddenly, movement caught his eye. Lyra was back, though she had not stepped from behind a tree or emerged from a shadow. It was as if she had always been there, blending with the light and the forest itself. Eli froze again, but he no longer felt fear. Instead, a strange sense of calm washed over him. She raised her hand slightly, and the soft lights that had danced along her fingers before began to swirl in the air between them. This time, Eli did not reach out immediately. He wanted to understand. He wanted to see if the connection had been real or a trick of his mind. And then slowly the lights formed shapes, circles, arcs, spirals, patterns that seemed to respond to his presence. Eli exhaled slowly. She is trying to communicate again, he thought. But the message was not one of words. It was more subtle, more profound. He could feel emotions, intentions, and thoughts brushing against his own, as if their minds were touching lightly, cautiously. He realized then that she was not just asking about his physical solitude. She wanted to know about his loneliness, his hopes, his fears, the essence of his humanity. "Hello again," he said softly. I am learning." Ilara's lights pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. It was a greeting and also something more. A recognition that he was trying, that he was open to understanding. Eli felt a strange sense of intimacy, not romantic, not even fully verbal, but something that made him aware of the fragility and strength of life itself. He lowered himself to sit on a smooth, glowing rock. Ilara mirrored him, sitting on the opposite side of the small clearing, her form glowing faintly in the dim light. Time seemed to stretch. The wind through the crystalline leaves sounded like whispers, as if the planet itself was listening. For the first time, Eli understood what solitude could be. Not simply being alone, but being present, aware, and connected in ways that transcended spoken language. "I've been in space a long time," he admitted softly. "Years without seeing another human face. Months without hearing a voice that understands. I thought I was strong enough, but I didn't realize how lonely it could feel." Ilara's lights shimmered in response, soft pulses like gentle breaths. He felt her acknowledgement, her empathy, as if she had absorbed his words and reflected them back in a way that gave them meaning. It was unlike anything Eli had ever experienced. In the emptiness of space, he had known isolation, but here on this alien planet, he understood that connection could exist beyond species, beyond language, beyond thought itself. He studied her closely. Her eyes, if they could be called that, were deep pools of color that seemed to shift with every emotion. There was intelligence there, yes, but also curiosity, patience, and something he could not name. Perhaps it was understanding. Perhaps it was acceptance. Eli realized he was not being judged for his mistakes, his fears, or his human flaws. She was merely observing, learning, and offering recognition in return. "I never thought I'd meet anyone like you," he said, his voice soft. "Not in all my missions. Not on Earth. Not anywhere." Ilara tilted her head slightly, a gesture that Eli recognized as curiosity. Her lights swirled gently, forming a spiral that expanded and contracted. He sensed that she wanted him to feel her presence, to understand that connection did not always require words. He reached out tentatively, placing his hand near hers, not touching but close enough to feel the warmth in the air between them. A strange, comforting energy pulsed through him. It was not heat, not electricity, not anything he could measure. It was recognition. It was as if she could see the loneliness he carried, the weight of choices he had made, the courage that had kept him alive in the void of space. And she accepted it without question. I think I understand a little," Eli whispered. "You're asking if I'm alone. But you mean more than that. You want to know if humanity, if I carry something inside, something worth noticing." Her lights shimmered softly, and for the first time Eli thought he saw a faint smile form on her face. Or perhaps it was his mind imagining, hoping. Either way, the effect was real. He felt seen, acknowledged, and strangely encouraged. Minutes passed, though they felt like hours. Eli realized that his thoughts were becoming clearer, more focused. The quiet presence of Ilara, her subtle gestures and the pulsing lights, seemed to calm the turmoil that often accompanied his isolation. He had survived years in space, but never had he felt so understood, so connected. He spoke again, sharing small stories of his life on Earth, the friends he had left behind, the moments of fear and courage that had defined him. And Ilara listened, silently but attentively, her presence a constant reassurance. He found that he wanted to speak, to share, because here for the first time someone or something truly listened. "You make me feel not alone," he admitted finally, looking into her glowing eyes. "Even though I'm on a planet millions of light years from home." Ilara's lights pulsed in a gentle wave, almost like a nod. Eli realized then that she understood exactly what he meant. Her question at the beginning, the simple, almost childlike, "Are you alone, human?" had not been about presence. It had been about essence. It had been about understanding what it meant to be human. Fragile, curious, resilient, and capable of connection even in the coldest, loneliest corners of the universe. As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the crystalline forest, Eli felt a shift within himself. He had come to Zethera 9 expecting to chart the unknown, to measure and record. Instead, he had discovered something far more valuable: the capacity to connect, to understand, and to be understood. The alien presence beside him was no longer intimidating. It was a companion of sorts, a guide and a mirror to his own humanity. He did not know what Lyra was or why she had chosen to reveal herself to him, but he understood that this connection, silent though it was, would shape his journey in ways he could not yet imagine. Eli leaned back against a crystalline tree, closing his eyes for a moment. He could feel the pulse of the planet beneath him, the faint hum of the forest, and the gentle rhythm of Lyra's presence. For the first time in a long while, he felt whole. Not complete, perhaps, but whole in a way that mattered. "You're not just a question," he whispered softly. "You're hope, and maybe. You're proof that being human matters even here, in the farthest reaches of space." Lyra's lights flickered softly, almost like laughter, or perhaps it was acknowledgement. Eli did not need to know. He only needed to feel it, and for the first time, he felt that solitude was not something to fear. Solitude could be a bridge, a moment of reflection, and a way to understand not just the universe around him, but the universe within himself. As darkness began to fall and the glowing plants lit the forest like a million tiny stars, Eli realized that this encounter was only the beginning. There was more to discover, more to understand, and more to learn, not just about Zethera 9, not just about Lyra, but about humanity itself. And for the first time, he was ready.